I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the 25th Hour Radio Show here on Monster Radio AM 1150 and 98.5 FM WGGH. I am your host, Rob Fairless, and on the phone with me today is Dr. Vishnu Subramani. Dr. Subramani leads the bariatric medicine team at the Bariatric and Metabolic Institute with locations in Cape Girardeau and Sikeston. Dr. Subramani, thanks for taking a few minutes out of your Saturday to join me on the show.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. Dr. Subramani, I feel the best place to start here is to give my listeners a little personal history about yourself. What made you decide to enter into the field of medicine, become a doctor, and eventually specialize in the field that you're in?
So, Robert, that's a great question. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, born and raised in actually Evanston, Illinois. Grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, went to high school. And I basically had an older brother. My oldest brother was a physician and really aspired to be just like him. Went on into medical school. And I have always suffered with childhood obesity and just struggled with weight. And to this day, it's always constantly a battle with my weight. And so I went in to become an obesity specialist to really help other people with their weight loss struggles.
So, Dr. Subramani, one of the reasons I contacted you to be on this show was because, like pretty much everyone else, I've struggled with weight issues as well. So let's just talk fat, man. There's not just fat, and that's it, right? There's different types of fat, correct?
That is correct. There's different types of fat. There's fat that's kind of like around your organs. We call that the visceral fat. That's kind of the deadly fat that predisposes you to diabetes, hypertension. There's, subcutaneous fat. There's different types of subcutaneous fat. We call like white fat, brown fat, beige fat. Generally speaking, it's the white fat that causes all the problems, and the white fat around the visceral organ, subcutaneously. The brown fat is sort of the hyperthermogenic type fat that, babies have a lot of this fat. It helps them shiver when they're cold. It keeps them warm, so it's what we call more thermogenic. So there's different types of fat. It can get a little bit more complicated than that. But in general, yes, you're correct. There are different types of fat.
Now, I'm assuming a lot of people who aren't in the know might assume that you just gain weight from overeating. Now, that might be true, but there's also circumstances that can put people in a higher risk category for weight gain, certain medical diagnoses, correct?
That is correct. And also, it is obvious that, eating a high surplus of calories or eating too much can predispose you to sort of tip the balance of the weight gain. But there's other, factors as well. There's genetics. So if you have, family history of people that suffer with weight, like your parents or grandparents, siblings, there's environmental factors, the different types of foods you're eating, where you're getting the food sources from. If it's a lot of artificial sweeteners and artificial foods, they tend to cause a little bit more predisposition towards weight gain. There's health issues that sort of, the pre-diabetic insulin resistant state that tends to make you gain weight. Those are just a few of the different things. There's also a gut microbiome thing that's sort of new and up and coming. The field of, the gut health, gut microbiome, and the organisms that live in your GI tract also can predispose you towards weight gain as well.
So that's where you and your team come in at the Bariatric and Metabolic Institute, right? What types of services do you provide for people who might be facing or currently struggling with obesity?
I think first and foremost, we offer a comprehensive approach. There's no one size that fits all. It's not like a cookie cutter approach, one blanket diet for everybody, and that just does not work. So when somebody comes into the Bariatric Metabolic Institute, they're going to do, we're going to get a full history and physical examination, try to identify any risk factors, genetic factors. We do indirect calorimetry, which is the gold standard, and in medicine, gold standard means the best test to determine their caloric needs. Everybody's caloric needs to lose weight is going to be different. My caloric needs to lose weight may be, 2,200. 2,300 calories a day. Jane Doe, who's, 40 years old and just, maybe 20, 30 pounds overweight, maybe her caloric needs may be 1,400. Therefore, we don't just give everybody the same blanket diet that you may get anywhere. We don't, and we don't really necessarily focus on, cutting one particular macro out of the diet. We focus on sort of balanced nutrition and lowering the caloric needs based on that patient's profile and their calorimetry. We also do genetic testing. We do microbiome testing. We do DEXA scan testing to see how much actual fat they have around the different organs, how much muscle they have, how much bone they have, because the whole skeletal system kind of interacts with each other and plays a big role, because we do know that, when you add more muscle onto your frame, the long-term success for weight loss is greater.
Gotcha. Now, Dr. Subramani, as everyone knows, COVID-19 has changed the way we live over the last year and a half, but people might not know that obesity plays a big part in the effects that COVID has on people. Am I correct on that?
That is correct. Yeah, obesity has been determined as the number one risk factor for mortality associated with COVID-19. Therefore, we do need to really get focused on having people try to lose weight to prevent, future problems with comorbidities and death and mortality. Those kind of things are really affected with obesity.
I know that obesity plays a big role in contracting a ton of different and serious medical conditions. I also know that people might be, embarrassed to take the necessary steps that's needed to put them on the right track to a healthier life. I know I was, in my situation, I did it to myself. What would you say to someone who might be listening right now, who might be feeling the same way as I did, who might be a little embarrassed to reach out to you because of their obesity issue?
Of course, there's going to be challenges with the embarrassment of just, having obesity. I think we live in a culture where, being obese is kind of an acceptable thing. It's easier to sort of be quote unquote obese or just kind of eat whatever you want to eat than really change eating habits and focus on healthy lifestyle choices. And, it takes a lot of commitment. And, I think the very first step in trying to overcome those issues is just to come in for a consultation. Just we'll talk to you. And, if this is something that we can work on together, we would love to, have our patients lose weight, feel great, get healthier. But really the first step of overcoming that embarrassment or denial is just trying to just hone in or, just acknowledge that there is a problem. It's a difficult thing to acknowledge, but, over time, it will come.
Gotcha. Now, to kind of backtrack a little bit, because I want to make sure I get this question in before we start to wrap things up here. And you touched on this a few minutes ago. As far as food, what are some things that people should be avoiding if they want to keep their risk of gaining that unnecessary weight down?
I think that, there's a lot of, research now. I think the big hot topic right now is, and what I see in my practice a lot is a lot of people sort of eating a lot of fast food, junk food, but then doing a lot of low calorie drinks, diet drinks. I think one thing that could be changed is just to try to avoid any kind of artificial sweeteners in the diet. That's a big thing that there's been a lot of research on that predisposes people to actually gaining weight. We thought that, so for example, Diet Coke and Diet Pepsi was a good thing, but over time, those kind of things cause more of a problem with weight gain than actually with weight loss. So I think if there's one sort of tip or trick that I would tell my patients and my listeners would be to not drink Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, or try to avoid any kind of those artificial sweeteners, because there's so many low calorie, low and high sweetenered drinks out there, and so many brands. I mean, they're countless and endless. So if there's one sort of tip and trick, I would try to do that. I would try to just drink, water. I mean, you can put some flavored water with actual real fruits. That seems to be pretty helpful for people. Just kind of get a container, put some fruits at the bottom of the water, berries, apples, because a lot of people don't like the taste of water. That could flavor it just naturally. That's just one thing in sort of the big arsenal of losing weight.
Gotcha. So where can people go as far as social media or website if they want to learn more about the Bariatric and Metabolic Institute?
BMI Cape, that's BMICAPE.com. And we also have a Facebook profile at Bariatric and Metabolic Institute.
What about you, man, personally, outside of your work life? Do you have any hobbies or activities you'd like to involve yourself with that sort of take you away from the stress of everyday life?
Yeah, I love working out, going to the gym, exercising. I enjoy singing. I enjoy yoga, meditation, playing tennis, playing basketball. So I try to keep a balanced life. Try to do different things to just try to keep healthy and balanced. And every day, with my own struggle, and as I mentioned earlier in the conversation, I've struggled with weight my entire life, and every day I have to sort of keep track and watch what I'm doing too in terms of health and eating. But I think I try to live a pretty balanced life myself.
Gotcha. Well, Dr. Subramani, we're almost out of time here on the show. Is there anything you'd like to say to the listening audience that I might have failed to cover, or any words of wisdom you'd like to convey before we bring this episode to a close?
I think in terms of weight loss, I would like my listeners to know one thing. It's not a sprint to the finish line. It's really a marathon. So if you, say, for example, weighed 350 pounds, there's no, you don't have to lose 100 pounds in, 3 months. And that's not actually going to be a safe approach. Once you start a program or, conscious eating efforts, mindful eating efforts, trying to lose weight, it's good to just stay focused, consistent. You will fall off this path. There's no doubt. But the idea is to fall off, regain composure, understand what's going on, and try to get back on path.
Gotcha.
Remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You're not racing against time necessarily. So if you try to crash diet and try to do things that you think are going to be, losing, 100 pounds in 3 months, that's not going to be successful, because what's going to happen the following 3 months, you're going to gain all that 100 pounds back. So the end result will be basically none.
Well, Dr. Subramani, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. I think we're going to reach some people with today's show, and I hope it ends up prolonging someone's life. Thanks again for doing this.
I hope so, too. Thank you, Robert.